The only movie growing up that I remember waiting in line for was Tougher Than Leather.
Whoa,
Yeah.
you one, you had a desire to see that.
Why would I not have a desire to see Tougher Than Leather? I know you have a lot of awesome stories about Prince. I'm gonna have you save some because there is
Uh,
one I want to ask you about. But I asked you about the origin story of the jam sessions. Let's get
yeah,
into your personal origin story. You know, you were raised by musical artists, right? Your parents were a soul duo, correct?
yeah. My dad was a an oldies doo-wop singer,
Yeah.
and like yeah, the first incarnation of his group was five guys, and then in the '70s, then he made it a family act. Yeah.
So it feels like your relationship with music was inevitable. But nevertheless, how did you come to realize, hey, I love this, and I don't just love this, like this is my passion. This is what I want to do and nothing else.
Again, I'm gonna correct revisionist history, because again, when stories are told 20, 30 years down the line, then it's like you get to put a nice little spin on it. Um, to be honest with you, I was tricked into the family business. Um, this is the way I see it. The way I see it was, oftentimes when you grow up, especially like when you're in when you're in the hood, and um, I had this gargantuan afro that I used to beg my mom, like, can you cut it, can you cut it please, like the kids keep teasing me about my hair, kids keep teasing me. So um already that made me insular and not really, not ready to go outside yet, because again, if you're younger, it helps to have like older siblings and cousins to sort of protect you. Like nothing holds the power more than I'm gonna get my brother fuck you up, like that sort of thing. And so I really didn't have that. So I pretty much stayed at home, and we had the world's, at least in my mind, like the world's biggest record collection. Like we had 3,000 records, which is a lot of records um, for the size house that we had. Um, so I just chose to get lost into that. But when I say my parents tricked me into it, um, by the time I was born, my dad had, had his first wave of oldies doo wop nostalgia. Again, when something's popular 20 years before it gets a 20-year cycle, a redo for older audiences once those teenagers turn 30 and 40. So it was during that circuit that my dad decided to like return to the fold of singing after he kind of gave it up after 3 years. And but he made it a family act. My mom had joined, and I guess to keep an eye on me, um, they just came up with things for me to do. So um, when I was 5, I was the family GPS. Someone had to read a Rand McNally map and roll down the window, and you're in the passenger seat. You got to ask for directions to the club. You got to notate those things. So like 5, 6, 7, I was that person. And then 7, 8, 9, my dad would just teach me everything about wardrobe, how to pack the car, how to pack the suitcase, how to iron, how to steam, how to clean leather, how to clean suede, run stuff to the cleaners. So I was on kind of wardrobe duty for those 3 years. And then by the time I was 10, he taught me like production management. So and yes, 10-year-olds were allowed in nightclubs back in 1980. Like there was no such thing as scandal culture. So uh, I'd cut light gels. I'd ring out the monitors, do the sound, work the lights, and for good money too. Like I was definitely the only fifth grader that, to have $300 in your pocket at the time in 1980, or inflation, that's like $900 now. Like, so that's what I did. And then in 83, when I was 12, at Radio City, my dad's drummer got into a motorcycle accident, and we're at Radio City Music Hall, and dad just looked like, okay, well, you know everything about the business, so uh, you know the show, so you're the new drummer. And I think because I knew the show so well, he also saw it as a way to get cheap labor because pay me a couple $100 and I'm instant band leader. He doesn't have to pay all this money to somebody to be the band leader. So yeah, my first gig was across the street. I'm at 30 Rock right now, at Radio City Music Hall. And that's how I got my start. So, and I did my first gig with him at Radio City. I did my last gig with him at Madison Square Garden in '94, and then a week later, we exiled to London. And the
Well,
roots.
I assume the part you wanted to clear up was maybe people thinking it was more purposeful as opposed to you were cheap labor. And
Oh,
therefore,
sorry.
that's what got you in the music
No,
business.
parents just didn't believe in babysitters. Like, I think babysitting was like maybe a mid '80 thing, mid '80s. Then it's like, okay, I'll let the next door neighbor watch. But in the '70s, like nobody, no, you didn't have. It's like, okay, we'll let you run in the nightclub at till 1 a.m, but we're not letting a stranger watch you. So yeah, I was more purposeful. I was learning the family trade.
Yeah.
You know,
Well,
if I were on a farm, I'd be doing the same thing, just with cows and chickens. So
well, the testament to your babysitter theory is ask somebody about our age the movies they saw growing up. And like my mother was single, right? So
mhm.
she never married my father. So I saw like Color Purple, Harlem Nights, like because they did not believe in babysitters. So I was like, I
Right,
literally
right.
saw
They
New
were
Jack.
there with you.
I was there with them. Like I had to go when my mother had a date here and there. I had to go on the date. That's how I saw Color Purple when I was like 10. It was like that was how it worked.
See, but I predate you, and I will say at least you didn't. At least you never had to experience, um, or maybe you did. I don't know. I think the last movie that I had to wait in line in was like Batman in '89. Like as soon as I graduated high school, had to wait in line for 2 hours for Batman. But when The Wiz came out in 1978, like I definitely know like The Wiz, Coming to America, and Black Panther were like three monumental moments in Black history for like moviegoers. And yeah, like I had to wait in line for 4 hours to see that we get up at 10, because I think back then the idea of rewind culture, the idea of seeing something again really wasn't a thing till the VCR, Betamax VCR, like in the late '70s and early '80s. Back then, you're thinking like this is the only time in your life you're going to see this movie. And so, you go to a movie on a Saturday and you stay and watch it 3 times in a row. And so there's no empty seats. So you got to wait until there's vacant seats. So yeah. So I know I predate you in the fact that, I would have to wait hours sometimes to see a movie.
The only movie growing up that I remember waiting in line for was Tougher Than Leather.
Whoa.
Yeah.
You one, you had a desire to see that.
Why would I not have a desire to see Tougher Than Leather? It was
Wait,
right
even more than that, and I'm not making light of this, and I'm not making light of this at all. But there was definitely a period, and I'll say in the late '80s, maybe until '92, '93, where it's like, you might have to wait maybe like 5 or 6 weeks and see a particular film at like a second run theater. Like you never see something the weekend it comes out, because yeah, when Tougher Than Leather opened, yeah, it was definitely. I know someone got shot that weekend. And
Oh no, that's exactly what happened. Like it was security. It was full on security. I mean, I grew up in Detroit, so it was like security. Some people. It had been some incidents at some other theaters. Like
right,
you had to have a parent or somebody over 17 take you to the movies, and they were legitimately checking folks for like ID. Like Tougher Than Leather was that serious, which is like
Yeah.
crazy. It's
I
really
I
serious.
I maintain that. So I finally saw Tough and Leather maybe like 15 years after the fact, and I was just like, "Yo, man, I cannot imagine. Like, I can't even imagine risking my life during like the first run, the first weekend of this playing, and over this. Like, I would have given it like a -5 Rotten Tomato. So, sorry. Rick Rubin knows how I feel about this film. He agrees with me, so there's there's no shots fired. You know.
I couldn't remember one single scene from that movie right now. I was thinking, like, what do I even remember about this movie? I don't remember anything, but that speaks to your -5 rating. Um, well,
Mm-hmm.
listen, I have a ton of things that I want to ask you. I have two games to play with you, and we're going to fit this all in a reasonable amount of time. But first, we're going to take a quick break,
Yeah.
come back with more with Questlove, aka Amir, or is it Amir, aka Questlove? So you were coerced into the family business. But who was the genius that put the drum set in your hand?
Um. Okay. So the way my mom puts it, my birth doctor um was studying psychology. Just a college student studying getting his master's in child psychology. He's also a fan of my father's, and so um I remember him. Okay, first of all, I don't remember him. Let me take two. So my
You
whole
don't
point is that
remember him, is what you're saying.
right, my I think my mom told me that um he kind of plugged the idea of creative epigenetics in their head. So he wanted to know, okay, so if whatever genes that is in Amir's father, I wonder if it's possible to pass that on to his son without even directly influencing him. So he kind of wanted to know whether or not, the person that he just delivered would somehow inherit in some way, uh, somewhere in the talent gene pool and whatnot. But he would also plant seeds, and one of the most important seeds that he planted with my parents was up until the age of 5, like from now until the age of 5, let him explore his creativity. And they're like, well, what do you mean? He's like, well, um, I know this is a no most households, but like if he wants to uh, draw on the table or make mud pies out of his food or draw on the walls or do some sort of do some sort of creative expression in which uh and again, like most of us grew up in an era where like there's plastic on the furniture and all those things, and you better not touch those good plates and that sort of thing. So this is a tall order for them to ask, like just let him explore his creativity unbothered and unscathed, and just let him go at it. And I think for like 3 years it was just hard, like because I would hit on the hit on the lampshades and hit on everything, and like, all right, Dr. Gordon said let him find his creativity, so we'll stop him after like what 10 minutes or whatever. So eventually they figured out a way to channel all that energy. It was like clear that I was going to be a drummer, so they decided like, okay, well, take the pots and pans back and get him a drum set. So I got my first drum set when I was 3. But I got my first like real drum set. One of my dad's drummers just went AWOL and left everything. It was like Christmas of '78, and I remember that being a slow financial year. So I think I already accepted the fact that maybe we wouldn't have Christmas that year. Like, I was getting like socks and maybe like one sweater, but like not the toys I wanted or any of those things. So And I didn't see any like wrap gifts under the tree. I don't even think we had a tree up that year. I just thought like, oh damn, we're doing bad this year. So no Christmas. And I just woke up casually to run downstairs, and there it was staring at me. Like it was the black version of the Christmas story. Like this gargantuan 10-piece drum set is sitting in the living room. So yeah, I got my first set like Christmas of '78 when I was 7 years old.